I've not. I don't think all my life I've received this much kind of love from a bunch of strangers all at the same time.
Oh,
Thank you,
that's lovely.
everyone. I mean, after right now, we are no longer strangers. So thank you again for everyone showing up for
That's
this.
all right. Well, to those of you that have just joined us on YouTube, welcome. It's really great to have you all with us and our amazing writers. Tonight, I'm going to introduce the first because I know that he has to head out soon. The first is Spike Monroe, based in Edinburgh, formerly a drama teacher. Recently, well, not that recently, but most recently published a collection of poems with rhymer books, selected works, and I believe that Spike's going to kick us off with some readings in Scots, or at least including some Scots. So take it away, Spike.
Oh, hello, everybody. Yes, it's all in Scots. And my first poem is um, influenced by this photograph here of a little boy hanging on a washing line. So takes me back to my childhood in the 50s. It could have been me hanging on that washing line. First poem is Hung Out to Dry. They hung me on the washing line. I was only 7. Pegged up I was, hung out to dry. Cry, my ma said. Did you cry? Aye, I was greeting. She clouted my lug. It was a right sair scalp. That'll teach you. Stand upright. Stop stooping. You'll end up with a humpy back like Deke the coalman. Her hands were red raw. Those hands would mend your cornbreaks. Those hands would rub flour into margarine to make a rhubarb crumble or a fruity clooty dumpling. She washed and scrubbed landings. There was aye a pot of broth simmering away on the range. I used to watch her pitting coal on the fire, raking out the ashes and picking fleas out the rug. When she got the boiler, I got to shugle the washing with the big wooden tongs. I got to turn the handle on the wringer. Ma told me that when I was a babby in the pram, she left me outside the steamy in Davies Street, no far for the crags. An old wifey tried to steal me. My ma was banging on the police box, but he was on his beat. She caught sight of the pram, chased her down the street. She'd almost got as far as Hornig's the butcher. I was just tacking the bairn for a wee hurl. He was greeting, she said. Hung to dry. So my second poem in a similar vein, set round about the same time when I was a bit younger, we're back to the 50s, Maggot Flea. A maggot flea is a blue bottle. Just a babby I was, 4 year old, ta'en into Auntie Lizzie's bedroom to hae a look at her dead body. Wasn't she was in Peely Wally under Connaught. Oskin and Baines, her body laid all stiff under clammy, grey, fusty blankets. Look under the bed, my father whispered. I crawl under the bed to rescue a bottle of sugar alley water, a hint the graty pot. My grandfather, new resembling a tatty bogle, sat saft on his geardy chair by the range. Fluty dry, now he gobbed into a copper bine. The old sodger coughed and spluttered mair, spitting out blobs of dark green fleam that bubbled and hissed on the hot coal. I sat on the frozen wooden cludgie. I pulled the big chain, twisted shut the tap, dried my hands with a clarty cloot. In the kitchen, Auntie Sadie cracked open a can, emptied the peaches into a star-spangled bowl. A muckle maggot flea landed to soak the juice. An hour later, I'm back in the cludgie, bowking, spewing up with the skitters. Now I'm feared of all minky flagging beasties. So that's a little bit of my childhood.
Fantastic, Spike. And I hear that you're tonight heading off to read somewhere else. Where are you headed?
I'm going to the Musselburgh Hot Pot,
Oh.
and I'm hoping Ray will come with me one Sunday, first Sunday of the month. You're all welcome.
I will join you one of these days.
I've told you, Ray, when you come to
Yeah.
Edinburgh, I'll take you to Musselburgh Hot Pot. You'll love it.
Sounds like fun.
My next poem, Tune and Country, is published in this book, and it's about Robert Ferguson. It's a book of poems dedicated to Robert Ferguson. His statue stands outside the Canongate Kirk on the Canongate. You'll see him striding down the Royal Mile. And Robert Burns was very much influenced by Robert Ferguson. Tune and Country. In the Tune Ulrike, nearabouts Feather and Catplus, humble men and galoots frequent oyster cellars and alehouses, where they slurp down copious jugs of punch and porter. Fire stokers and coffin makers, boozy judges and tune gairds, all mingle with the detritus of society. They fling themselves about jigging and dancing in the company of the fairer sex. To see money bosoms bare and stick huge buttons in the hair, and some of them with nathan mair upon their teeth. Yeah, some with muches that might scare craws for their meat. Stay weary of the hurly-burly of city life with its up-lupping vagabonds and macaronis. The young poet, Ferguson, often yearns for the sooth shores of the Firth of Forth, far away frae the khaki and stench of Auld Reekie, to tak sanctuary in Blackness Bay, where he might hear the Sunda Clarsack being stroked with the gentle fingers of a shepherd's wife, or eat a belly full of the finest succulent colour oysters. Such gusty morsels might even cure his ailments. And after that, take a good stroll towards Blackness Castle. He's just as much at home here as he is in his beloved Edina. So yes, Tune and Country. I entered that poem in a competition at the Lobster Pot right next to Blackness Castle. The first prize was £1,000. I didn't win, but anyway, I got it into this. Book. You're in there as well, by the way, Marcus.
I am. I was there at the launch at Golden Hair the other. When was it? Was it last week? First time I'd ever read there, so that was lovely. And that presents a perfect segue to our next reader, who is also a featurist in that book. Katie Campbell's one of the Gaelic contributors. Katie's based in Inverness. She writes in Gaelic, Scots and English. And we're awaiting the publication of her first collection, Darn the Ban, from Leamington Books. Hopefully soon. Tell us, when's it coming, Katie?
End of January.
End of January? Oh, I was hoping that would be my stocking for this year. Never mind. That's all good. All right. Do you want to fire on with your first reading of today?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the opening poem from my collection, and this is called Banavucci Alta Vulain,
Oh, she's gone. That's some Invernessian internet, I think. Hold on, I'll just text her.
In an boch. Mach tawe den tavshin, runach mum is smooth and dansig ton out, is ger chorkerach nen jiish, geniechger ach banaloch. Blood-red leaves lie heavy drenched in silent anger, taints yellow and amber women. Naked branches whisper warnings of intolerance, in hallowed breath stories of healers in Diribacht. Echoes of spirits, shadows, and smoke danced through the river, and the screams of violation. 2 innocents, women. So that's the opening one from my upcoming collection. And the next one I'm going to do is actually an Edinburgh, Pennycook based poem. My dad is from Pennycook, and this one's about my granny. She used to always have a lovely fortnightly shampoo and set. This is about her hairspray, Frasulch. Va falt an cónaí geall mar lámagan, gach gas an snaitse an bachclachan an béke, leis an shampoo is set a thuúri gach collegiag. Gan cuma mín an líon últis ródaran is na cúlan an cuairteargaigh le láv ó chana árstáir rí tuh an sa chapach. A chonneag van jalt gach crinnecha gaimpje an riembel meorach an oike. Alva bhainse geallas is touch and stolte, glamour serkage, while lar danse structured. Her hair was always white like snowflakes, and every strand sculpted in small, tight curls with her fortnightly shampoo and set, perfection kept in a hairnet and rollers enveloped in vapour from a tall gold can beside her in the alcove, the lacquer shimmer encircling her in a halo of youthful memories, the ether stale with sweat and cigarettes and the faded glamour even, of a scuffed dance floor. The next one, a bit more appropriate for this upcoming week. I've got a huge connection in my family with the armed forces, and this one is called Blessedness. Very appropriate for the upcoming week. Cuma bhuam turas tócanach gach bliana, leag leinig an animal, mar achian wanrish farm bín na vialvach an na fás, bratich an a lekel, na thesu son da vintage. Striche chosiches shiv, shachat ganare an taitcher a flinte, no a chrosh an inskrivig le bruggen, gillian green. Mun chan gashkich na duche, chachik saches rie ver fuim na gunne. Gach wais eiche, corpetje le jollivan na combach, chanel an blar shachat, as chavie gebra, skach la a haun an la a kainichi. Duty. Keep from me your token journey, reading famous lines of Flanders fields where poppies grow, flags lowered standing for 2 minutes. Often you pass by, unaware of the plinth soldier or the cross inscribed with fine men in ranks. But for our veterans, the guns will never fall silent. Every day and night plagued with images of combat, the battle isn't over and will never be. Every day is Remembrance Day. And a little one to finish, I think, on about library. The library in Inverness is a beautiful old building. Inside, unfortunately, it's been turned into a 70s monstrosity, but the outside is very, very pretty, and I spent a lot of time in there, with my daughter, and so this is your one. Hawaii Vidach Chimichel na Jordline. They heltje o rein na clunje, et a druiach is in erkich, is shadien runekach, a hari tjach. Hawaii Vidach Chimichel Jordlan, Gian tri prinkenai, Angelus is vreken, a chumojalish stay, vierach gemach. Hawaii Vidach Chimichel na Jordlan. Sair hárig mun an til rig léig vo chal erket is gearrig choskian kier leersin. Hawaii virach chimichel na Jordlan, Jechel son a choki, richin. Nur a hokus sin moed, krui, ljorichen, kielbach. Barbed wire surrounds the library. half visible from the children's section, interspersed with unicorn magic and starry-eyed futures. Barbed wire surrounds the library, three-pronged defence against ignorance and lies, keeps knowledge in, reality out. Barbed wire surrounds the library, rich in worldly assets to be protected from budget losses and short-sighted cost-cutting. Barbed wire surrounds the library, ready for the coming war, where we'll build a barricade of hard-backed reason. Tap live.
More than time, Katie. That was lovely, and all the best with the forthcoming publication. So, this being Northwards Now, you've heard the 3 languages of Scotland already, but tonight we're also celebrating writing of diaspora communities, and we've got 4 diaspora writers with us. One representing the Levantine diaspora in Ireland, myself representing the Irish diaspora in England, the Jewish diaspora, and of course the African diaspora. And that leads us on to our headliner, who is Ray Ainassi, one of Africa's most published authors with over 25 books, which include, please don't tell me I'm forgetting the pronunciation wrong, Ujasiri, Bloodline, This Town, A Postcard of Terror, Sorrows of Udi, A Perfect Suspect, and 17 Stories I Welly Forgot to Tell Monachi. And we're really, really pleased to welcome Ray tonight and to hear his work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm just going to get straight to it. The first poem I choose to begin with is You Matter. It's a dedication to poets all over the world. I wrote this in the most recent World Poetry Day, and it goes this way. I have quite a journey with words. I've been tortured with words. I've been saved by words. I have a crush on words. I can't tell half of my feelings yet because I don't have the words. I've been rescued by words from tight corners. I would tell you how indebted to words I am, but words fail me. Words matter. Words are the compost of the soul, the chariots of our thoughts across primitive shunts. Words matter because silence is golden. Silence is golden because then does the soul speak words to itself. Words, it has refused to waste abroad. Because words is the lifeblood of soul. Silence is the mind bathing in its own nourishment, in selfishness for its preservation and sanity. The sword may be mightier, but words go farther. Without words, the deeds of the powerful are unknown. What is what is because of words. The grass is green because we say it is. The sky is blue because that is our word for it. Without the words blue and green, what will the grass and the sky be? They will have to settle for whatever words we lend to them, because words matter. If you believe it, before the heavens and earth was born, a certain somebody said, let there be light, and the Big Bang happened. Again they said, let us make man, and the chimp became Adam. The chimp's wife became Eve because words matter. Light may travel faster than words, but only words can tell us what the light is showing us. And until we can tell an experience in words, our experience remains incomplete. Words make stories, and stories are the summation of our existence. Words matter. If you use words, be bold. If you trade in words, be proud. And if you happen to be a master of words, be humble. Be humble because humility is the last gate on the road to divinity. Walk that road with words because words matter. And if words matter, poets matter. You matter. Thank you. The next one I'm going to be reading is, the title is Walking Home by Noon. It's a short expression of how much, let me say, this is me being homesick for a bit. And it's a dedication to my hometown, or I would say my home village, a place I spent a brief time of my childhood, and I still yearn for it. Walking home by noon, I had this dream again. I had this dream for the third time this week. I had this dream for the fourth week this summer. I had this dream for the fifth summer this decade. I had this vision. I went back home. I went back to my father's land and my mother's home. I went to the village that yearns for my footsteps, the land that hugs the wizened bones of my father and nostalgic for his father's memory. I went there where I have become a Mandarin stranger. The stars and their sisters don't remember me, but winged trees know my name. They recall my hands till the head beneath them. They saw how my tender palms dug a young python from the looms of a cassava farm. The trees, they remember everything. They record it within their rings. They can recall seeing me soaking in the July rains of fresh corn harvests. They saw me bake the caked Amatan ate for a Christmas meal. Even when I can't remember, they do. I went there, the land I hope to show my daughter and her siblings. The earth, the hue of blood. Skies, the tone of sorrows. And hair, the blend of hope. It may not glitter, but it is priceless. The land is the repertoire of our ancestral history. It is a token of our bound identity. She is the threshing floor of our pains, or the cradle of our gains, the impregnator of all our hopes, or the womb of our failures. Under the skies we learnt to dream. We force our souls to keep vigil while our bodies die to be woken again by the pain of the minds at cockcrow. Under our eyes we realize our nakedness, a shameless nakedness, clothed again by the warmth of her gaze. She's a dainty little village, a place you have to miss to love it. Like a tender damsel you jilted in your youth, then regret it when you're frail and old. You wish you had loved her more when she sat by your feet, when she opened up a bosom for you to cultivate, when the fruits of her bowels sustained you. You invested her innocence for your pleasure and pride, but you lost for the big city. And when you have had your full of her, when she has torn half your life from your loins, you wish you have the ever dainty damsel back. Now you don't deserve her, but alas, you shall have her again, and again you shall jilt her. I went there, the only Isele home of the anger deity, the goddess that lives in marshes, in the gleam of crescent moonlight, with pathetic mortals give in to slumber. Sorry. While pathetic mortals give in to slumber, she comes out to dance in Abuano. She leaves white Nzu footprints on the awe of our priestesses. She's the deity with curious antecedents, mother of sinful men, protector of vulnerable girls, bruised and battered in the war of gods, but never lost the fight against evil. Worshipped by the dubious and ignored by the loathsome, loathed by the ignorant, mocked by the arrogant, and unknown to the wise. In the aura of our rich, old and dying men remain boys, while suckling girls are sought after sages. As the sun was rising, I got on my way. I went there. I entered the throat of the village where the sun was angling to strike directly over me. And by noon, I was standing before the crumbling family home, under whose decaying roof I wrote my first poem. The walls that taught me to be a protector, the floors that taught me to fear no fall, windows that taught me to see beyond her belly, doors that taught me to walk away from her, and from whence I found this love. And the third one I'm going to read is the title is I Will Find My Way. And it's basically my, should I say my, it's speaking to more like the essence of living, the essence of experiencing life itself as it is through whatever we could feel, through pain and all that life throws at us. I will find my way. I would follow the cracks. They are the signs of life, of the stain that comes with being, just being. They are there to confess to the battering of mortal existence. They say to me, you too can exist here. I will find my way. I would follow the trail of blood. They are proof of loss. For this reason, a proof of possession of life. They tell me where the pain is. Pain makes me feel. Feeling makes me fearless. Fearlessness scales my common sense. Pain is my guide, my clue to live. It reminds me I'm alive. It teaches me to live harder. I refine the fault lines, the points to pressure. Pressure points to life. Life is the mother of pain, and pain is the road. I will find my way. I'll follow the trail of tears on a desert floor. They will lead me to people who cared enough to hurt enough to weep enough to water the desert with tears. When I find them, they will teach me to fight for what I dream about, to knock down walls, to build bridges. They will teach me to sob but not faint. They will teach me to cry but not despair. I will find my way because I don't fear pain. I may be losing track of time, so please stop me when it feels like.
Maybe just one more poem, but first, I just want to say that, you know, in the time you've been in Scotland, you've really, really contributed to our literary communities here. I mean, your biography alone, it says, a member of the Society of Authors in Scotland, Board of Trustee for Literature Alliance Scotland, and a director for the Rhianni Creators Film Festival in Aberdeen. I mean, no small feat, Ray. Do you ever get, do you ever find time for your own creative work? What are you working on at the moment?
Yeah. I think it all comes down to how my passion for the arts. When I immediately like got into Scotland, the first thing I asked was, where are the writers? Where do they gather? Where do they meet? Where do I find them? And that was how I found Society of Authors and on other things. Now, how I find time to do my work, to write, it's a lot of pressure, which resulted in me at the beginning not doing any writing the first year I came in because I couldn't even find my feet now. But the year after that, I started writing what would be my next book. It's the title is Waiting for Kaine. I started writing it and I finished it mid this year, and I'm in the process of I'm speaking to some publishers about it. So yeah, as soon as I lock a deal with the publisher, you would be hearing about it.
Fantastic. Well, all the best with that. And I'm sure our gang here can give you some tips for potential publishers. Do you want to bring your set to a close with a final poem, please?
Okay, I'm going to find a very short one. Just give me a second. Just looking for one that is really short so I don't kill time.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is Conscious Folly. It's an expression of a dedication to knowledge, what we know, what we don't know, how vast the knowledge out there is, such that more knowledge makes you humble, because you get to realize how much you don't know by knowing a little. It goes like this. What we don't know that we don't know. Oh, sorry. Let me start again. What don't we know that we don't know? We can't know. What is it that lies out there in the realm of human conscious intercourse? What is it that could be known but still unknown? We cannot know. Where did we come from? What was in the beginning? Where did the beginning began from? We don't know. We can't know. And it drives the mind mad. We can't call a tune that is uncomposed. We can't act a play yet unwritten. We can't tell a story unconceived. The things that could be but hasn't been can't become unless it is imagined. What is that spark of genius that hasn't sparked but can spark? We cannot know. The things we know when we think we know are nothing but an orgasm of ignorance, thrust into the bottomlessness of subconscious arrogance. The earth was flat till we knew the Milky Way. The sky is blue if you don't know about the refraction of light. The sun rises from the east if only you live on earth. These we know, if only they are true. What don't we know that would make what we know to be false? What can we see tomorrow to show us how blind we were yesterday? We will keep fetching from shallow wells to quench the thirst of the desert. The mind is slave to knowledge it thinks it owns but cannot use. It's an orphan begging for the rebirth of stillborn siblings. It is held hostage by the impossible, ridiculed by the unthinkable, brought to its knees by unreachable wisdom. Hence, what we know, we don't know, is our salvation.
Thank you very much for sharing your words with us tonight, Ray, and all the best for your ongoing career here in Scotland. We're really pleased that you were with us today. So speaking of the Society of Authors, our next reader is also actively involved with that organisation. It's not often that poets can say they're sharing the bill with a New York Times best-selling author, but here we are, cometh the hour. Michelle is the author and creator of the Mara Dyer trilogy, consisting of The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and The Retribution of Mara Dyer. So now it's the Zoom call of Mara Dyer. Please welcome Michelle Hodkin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Even though I am not a poet, I was looking actually at some of the poems that I did write for my character Noah Shaw in his series that didn't make the cut because they are a little bit pornographic for young adult crowd, and I thought, you know what, let's leave those on the cutting room floor, and if it's okay with everyone, I will just read some prose.
You do that, and you send those poems to us at Northwoods now. I'm sure Kenny Taylor will absolutely love them. Anyway,
under like a pseudonym, please.
Yeah, Dara Maya.
I was looking at them and I was like, yeah, right. I was looking at them and I was like, yeah, no, I don't think that I could read these without just, yeah, blushing.
Okay, well, we'll break the mold and we'll have a prosaic segue.
Yeah. I actually thought that, so one of the things that I forgot to mention when I joined the call is that Ray and I are working on a project together, which is a prose project inspired by, very loosely inspired by some experiences that we've had and shared as outsiders to the, Scottish literary community. But, I guess in our, growing friendship, we realized that we had certain things in common, and I love literary scandals and fiction about literary scandals, like the J.T. Leroy saga, and Can You Ever Forgive Me, and things like that. And so I thought maybe I would read from our work in progress, or the one of the chapters that I am working on. Leary Goldstein had to die, and I was going to have to kill her. It was a shame, honestly. Internationally best-selling author, 14 novels, translated into 32 languages, Time Magazine's best book of 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2023, 2022 was an off year, apparently. And let's not forget the Sunday Times list, or that French one with the name that I can never pronounce, or can neither pronounce nor remember. Anyway, more than 4 million copies in print, and now it was all over. I clicked on the already read email for a second time. Thank you so much for your patience in waiting to hear the outcome of your application to our Marion Bird Fellowship. As I mentioned previously, the overall standard of applications was exceptionally high, making it a challenging judging process. Your application was one of those long-listed, but the judges have now made the decision to award the fellowship to another applicant. We understand this may come as disappointing news, and I'm afraid that we can't give individual feedback, but many congratulations on reaching the final stages. We do hope that you will consider applying for other awards and opportunities at the Highlands Residency in the future. Wishing you all the very best, Christine. Wishing you all the very best, Christine. If it had been the first rejection, fine. Okay, NBD, Christine. Larry could live to fight another day. As it was, this was rejection number 12, and it's not like there's an infinite number of opportunities here. I'd pretty much exhausted them, and I don't know how much more I could take. Maybe if Leary applied as Lara or Laura, but then there was the Goldstein of it all. Could Lara Gold work? No. There's still something Jewy about gold and all of its permutations, isn't there? This situation demanded nothing less than full Gentile. Maybe the romance authors have the right idea, something alliterative, perhaps, or maybe the first two names together, like Lara Logan, maybe, or Laura Ashley. Very Gentile, also very taken. Laura Ashley was the flowery prairie dress designer, right? Something like that. Okay, well, maybe something nature-ish. Nature-y. Laura Rain? Rain with an E? Sounded a bit pornographic. And then there was the matter of having to apply to these things, the residencies, the contests, let alone the publishers, with your real name. Honestly, I had reached that point. Changing my own name, taking my mother's name, maybe, but she was Mizrahi. That wasn't going to help me very much. Larry Mizrahi sounded Jewy in a different way. And of course, I am Jewy in all of the ways. And anyway, people have a way of finding these things out. Elena Ferrante was outed. Joel Klein also outed. Yeah, Larry Goldstein needed to die. But who could I become in her place? And so that's where the first chapter of our work in progress, which is at the moment called Two-Faced, sort of kicks off. And I think everyone can probably imagine where it's headed, sort of in the vein of all of these different literary scandals. But what this one sort of does that the other ones haven't done is that there's a consensual relationship to share an identity between the character, sort of the Jewish character and the Nigerian character that Ray is writing in his voice. So yeah, that is.
Thank you very much. Well, just
Thank
wish you
you.
all the best with that amazing collaboration. And I already loved what I heard. I know that all our writers on this call can relate to the 12 rejections. And, you know, different lived experience. But I know that all our Gaelic writers, and we've got one coming up, can relate to having to navigate having multiple names. The best one that I ever got in an email was Marquis Mac and Tony Kay, which I absolutely loved because it came from a former director of the Scottish Poetry Library, no less. So there we go. So, speaking of writers and rejections, I don't think Victoria McKeever is very used to rejections, given that she won into 2024 the Lewis and Harris Association Gold Medal for Poetry at the Royal National Mode. But here she is anyway. Victoria's based in Tain, and she's a Gaelic medium primary school teacher, and she writes poetry for adults as well as literature for children. So please welcome Victoria McKeever.
Thank you, for that very subtle introduction. I have had lots of rejection. Thank
No.
you. However, nice little ego boost there. I write for adults, and I write in both English and Gaelic, and very much about motherhood and being a woman. And I have a child with additional needs, so quite a lot of my writing is around that. So I'm actually going to read a piece I entered and was shortlisted for the Wigton competition this year. It is called Ulachog Oproch Gufa Fiete. Loracún cynwen gocliafydd, yn lwyre y corach o gyfias achan, di siadas, mar listichen yn bwyn y jarsig, rwyw, y mwch y geiddi'n yn biawlagan. Gwg y glasig y dwper gycwyn mynach, ach sgier do chorach yn rwysgtje, statichiet, is hrw yn tuske gylar. Casan y sliam nach hwg a afrit y bwl y gorst, dan al y llorig. Le ames cheek me yiddig, hiwe, y túslig, y drúig, kechtje, evliken mar lurigen ik doortaken. Han ik zie kusachker, y dúslig do groeien, at se getu, agus vliegje na hulens en spruig. Na jammer zie je, hij jalligen smaal, gach ulle rut er een reetje gegedeesje, drieach, kursachet, ahet. Ga bio un lasser nio eichnioch in show. Invisible workload. You douse the meetings quickly, the ashes marking the calendar, growing like the glowing shopping lists. You run, smothering the rising of the flames. Your work lit with a flickering light, but your bare fingers slip. They stop, and the water flows to the ground. Feet slipping, a struggle hits you, your breath catching. With a final aim, you see it, tripping, dripping, used, little embers like flowers at your toes. Soot came gently dusting your cheeks as you watched, and eyes tearful in the debris. In his living room, his fireplace is spotless. Everything is arranged accordingly. Career, hobby, father. Not a single invisible flame lives here. The next one I'm going to read for you is just in English. And I think it's probably something that will touch most people's lives, unfortunately. It's something that was very close to my family this year. However, my sister has just got the all clear from the hospital, so I don't mind reading this aloud this evening. Seasick. The roiling whirlpool of routine halts, driftwood reaching ashore. The kitchen sustains its ebb and flow, maintaining these rituals on board as I silently swallow the chaos, the word churning, an anchor, a heavy burden below. A baleen wheel breaching surface, the sounds distort, the pressure pounds, dragging me under, yet I'm steadied by the rise and fall of my pulse. Soothing swells sustain me. Adrift, I splutter, heaving the heft of syllables. It sullies the air, lingering, leering at me, uninvited, daring me to accept it. My first mate, my sister, suddenly struck, speared like an anglerfish. Reality splashes our once serene seas. The tides now tumbling in turmoil. We have faced the uncertain horizon. Bow forward. She readies her ship. Captain. The sea sickness smacks again, ticking, circling below. It sings a warning. A battle looming. Our white flags locked away. And then I am going to do one that I'm currently wrestling with at the moment. And it is in Gaelic, and it's called Kitchen Jehushin. Chanye slugge orm, ach, ní sin na slugge, fuaim fuach gus imig ní, mar chocker is a kitchen le recipe. Meski sin dúdach is lodig sin pís, gus an bíú córstal at gaun sa suas sa sias. Soch grich sin an fuain, is éisti sin gun strí, gus an bíú gisal san córu, sein, njá si. Furich I sin grisach, go gael fos an mesk an séfach, leis an gling I sin a héig, ní ruimetach. So a kitchen of matters. Now this doesn't translate quite as well, but you'll get a good idea of what it's about. It's not that I don't like, but we will reduce the sounds, the colds, and all other things like a chef in the kitchen with a recipe. Mixing the clothes, we'll find each piece until you're comfortable, dancing all around. Quieten the sound and listen to it struggle free until you're ready to chat or sing or sit in peace. We'll wait a while, finding calm in the silence. With the final ding, we eat a neurodivergent cake. And that is me, Taffalive Gajirafine. Thank you very
More
much.
time, Victoria. Thank you for sharing those works, and I'm really pleased to hear your sister's good news. That's brilliant. So the next of our readers is one of our diaspora readers, and it's Anton Floyd, who was born in Cairo, but also has roots in Ireland, in Malta, in England, and the French Lebanon. He now lives in West Cork. Widely published, his first collection was Falling into Place, but he's also the author of Depositions, which was published first in 2022, and which I had the honour of translating into Scottish Gaelic alongside other poet translators working in the Celtic languages and Scots. And do keep an eye out on the Celtic Connections programme, because alongside Rachel Walker, we've reworked it into a musical masterpiece. Well, at least I'm pretty certain it's going to be one, and tickets are available now. So I've always wanted to do this. So good evening, Ireland. This is Edinburgh calling. May we please have the poetry of Anton Floyd, please?
Well, thank you very much indeed, Marcus. It's a great pleasure to be here and to hear all these wonderful poets read, and prose writers too, Victoria. That's great. I'm going to start with 5 tercets from Depositions, and I'm going to read each tercet twice. And Depositions deals with enforced population displacement. And when the book was being conceived, there were about 80 million people displaced. By the time it was published, there were 112, and now there are 122 million people displaced. This story, forged on the anvil, this rasping file. This story, forged on the anvil, this rasping file. Nowhere else to go. I wither every day on your doorstep. Nowhere else to go. I wither every day on your doorstep. Not half sweet, the strawberry shared with the blackbird. Not half sweet, the strawberry shared with the blackbird. Asylum feels like a hollow wasteland between drawn lines. Asylum feels like a hollow wasteland between drawn lines. Happy once, now we sing of the dark times. Happy once, now we sing of the dark times. The next poem is also from Depositions. It's called In the Aftermath, and it's Sankofa in brackets. Sankofa is an African word from the Akan tribe, or the Akan tribe in Ghana, and the literal translation of the word is, "It is not taboo to fetch what is at risk from what is being left behind." And the references here are to my maternal grandmother, who was from Péronne in France, and a pianist. When war came, the photographs record how the percussive blasts burst our living room windows, how shrapnel tore our lives apart, how those red-hot pieces of metal scorched the walls and made the detritus of the sacred objects of our home. One photograph was of the piano. It was Mother's upright, intact but disfigured, the varnish blistered, bits of mother of pearl missing from the floral inlay. What remained was discolored, the withered vestige of the paradise garden she nurtured whenever she sat at the piano to play. When we returned, she tells me, we wept, burdened by grief, the hurt of memory and loss, the unspeakable weight of shock. Later, father says, after long silence, mother at the instrument began to play Bela Bartok's Standing Still. She played it all, and every note was out of tune. I told her, he says, I will fix it, mother, note for note. But she shook her head. Don't, she said. We keep it as it is. I'm now going to read some new poems. This one is brand new. It's a villanelle, and it has an epigraph. In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me lay an invincible summer. Albert Camus returned to Tipasa. So the poem is called I Heard the Wren. I live in the deep countryside, and the wren is a great consolation for me. I heard the wren, most diminutive of birds, sing a survivor's song on the bleakest day, midwinter. To live in hope, first find, then transcend the words. The wren sang, and it struck a chord. On a day so cold, I thought my world would crack, would splinter. I heard the wren, most diminutive of birds. Although the absurdities of history have recurred, the wren I see is blind to all we call disaster. To live in hope, first find, then transcend the words. With the poor kept poor and the rich preferred, with no end in sight, as when slaves succumb to master, I heard the wren, most diminutive of birds. When our world looks barren, all life deferred, might we, like the wren, rise to sing and louder, to live in hope, first find, then transcend the words. When daily pleas for justice go unheard, nature provides a timely, apt reminder. I heard the wren, most diminutive of birds. To live in hope, first find, then transcend the words. The next poem is called Each Poem Then is a Flickering, and it's on reading the great Irish poet Michael Longley, who sadly passed away last year. And this poem is dedicated to my wonderful friend and poet Matthew Gedden and his wife Caroline Smith. Each poem then is a flickering. Your syllables begin to quicken. Words could be mottled pebbles on a beach or miraculously stray snow buntings foraging. And in the spaces between words, hooper swans that paraded on the Turlough all day, now at rest, have looped their sinewy necks like elegant cursive letters about a luminous waterline. In a gleeful instant, your commas magic into the iridescent fur of the arched backs of otters that swim in and out of clauses. Nor is there finality in your full stops. They, like owls' eyes, a concentration of obsidian black, become at once reflective pools, doors into the dark, a place where you can see thought. This poem is called That Lone Tree on the Edge of the Dream, and it's a poem for all those people dealing with those letters of rejection. That lone tree glassed in the lake carries the sky in its branches. In the water, as if under ice, there are indistinguishable faces guarding their dark element with their terrible mouths, all teeth and thin-lipped. They are mouthing hurts, miming their disbeliefs, mocking the tree's isolation. They see only that tree, and cannot imagine the reach of its roots or the wide forests poised in its tiny seeds. And my final poem is written following the Fibonacci sequence, and it was published in the United States in the Fib Review. And it came in response to seeing a film of Alvin Ailey's celebrated modern dance work, Revelations. It premiered in 1960 with his American Dance Theatre, and it explores African-American heritage and culture through faith and tenacity, using spirituals, blues, and gospel music. And it tells the story of the struggle and triumph from slavery to freedom. Revelations. Black America sings for the Ailey dancers. The choreography unfolds its revelations, the dance energy in their bodies set free. Imagine atoms ablaze like phosphorescence against the night's breaking waves, arcing, held, and then the drive, a synaptic light surfacing in lithe, proud limbs, the body line script, the full extent of it. Look how they delineate space, spirits flying high, freedom's pure articulation, ecstasy. Thank you very much indeed, Marcus. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us, Anton, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in January, if not sooner.
Yeah.
Get your tickets now, guys. So our next reader is former Stirling Macker Laura Fife. I don't know if former is the correct terminology. Maybe once a Macker, always a Macker. But Laura, in addition to her great work in the community, has had published poems published in the Butcher's Dog Postbox and Northwards Now. Pleased to have you there, Laura. And she was shortlisted for the 2022 Bridport Prize. A pamphlet, The Truth Lies, is available from Red Squirrel Press. So please welcome Laura T. Fife.
Thank you very much, everybody, and what a wonderful way to spend a Sunday evening. So thank you very much, and I'm feeling very honoured to be here this evening. I love the theme for this evening, about being about connection, and that's what poetry is all about. It's about connection between across miles, across time, and across lives. And through the screen as well this evening. So with that, I'm now going to read You Wrote My Love on a Toilet Wall in Alloa. Is there something to be said for evolving beyond the tyranny of proper nouns? Let's see. Pull up a roster of passengers. It won't matter who gives or answers or asks the questions, just that they're asked and given. With the arrival of dawn, nobody will get up unless they want to. No clouds will chafe into the static build-up of thunder. Here lie cookies and carbon footprints. We'll know each other by the sounds of our voices bleating in a field. There are no names on cave paintings, only handprints. Socials will be absent of selfies. It won't matter which man discovered the G-spot, just that it was enjoyed. We love so that we can exist beyond ourselves. You vibrate out into the same energy you came from, a democracy of sound waves weaving. In a vacuum, nobody can hear you scream. Old names will fade, relationships smear to green. Instead, we'll memorialise on our bodies the kisses others leave, watermark lines around our bruises, glorify our scars. I wish there were nothing between us. Open the cracks and walls and let each other flow through. There are no secrets here. It won't matter who you address letters to. Art will become fluid again and drip down the walls. Nobody will take us in vain. We'll become the glint of light on water, a missing cog in the machine, a brick of brack in a box of lost property. A flower by any other name still smells the same. The squiggles formerly known as people. Maybe it's time to become a hermit, the rattle of seeds in a poppy husk. Let go. Smile back at the I you were a moment ago. Imagine who would be if we didn't have to be anyone. It's amazing what we do when we're terrified of disappearing. This is my current pamphlet, most recent pamphlet that I'm reading from, Endless Blue with Stewed Rhubarb, and I'm going to read the poem that the title of the pamphlet comes from. I think we're all especially this last week. I think we're missing summer in Scotland quite a bit. So this is a little poem about summer. Scream if you want to go faster. Lying still, with sun-scorched, sunlight-tickled skin, sweat swept a wall by a gallus breeze, sunk into grace by your own weight. Do you ever hold on to the surface of this earth and feel it spin 1,600 mile an hour? Do you ever cling to the planet, hook yourself on with your heels and shoulder blades, grip with your fingertips, neck tensed, hair flaring, and heart hurtle 1,000 mile a minute around that colossal ball of blinding origin fire that warms you, that gives blackbirds license to warble and gulls the means to drift above you, and you're in deep, endless blue. I grew up by the Ochil Hills in a wee town called Alva, and we had a very healthy respect for nature and the power of nature, and particularly for the support that we find within our communities, including the Mountain Rescue Service, which is usually staffed by volunteers. Mountain Rescue. How do we pull ourselves back when we've nothing to hold on to? Find a way clear or stay, wait. Song will arrive again, from scrub, from burn, from leaf. We feel the weight of hope, are shocked to life by the rawness of spring water, by moonlight on stepping stones, beneath the wildness that rushes under rotting bridges, beyond the rusting fences and crumbling walls that stand against beating wind, cracking ice, and our dry, splintering sun. Be mindful of where others have fallen, where snarls of heather snag ankles, where mud connives to bind us static. Thorns of gorse pierce the air and the skitter of scree threatens. Hold warmth, stick by stick, in the fires we huddle round. And for my last poem this evening, it was a poem I wrote for, was commissioned to write for St Andrew's Day and performed it at the Scottish Parliament. So I looked into the beliefs and traditions around St Andrew's Day and the way that St Andrew is celebrated all over the world. It's about the longing for, and it's about arriving on strange shores. Over the edge of blue. A girl sits in a sandy hollow. Marram grass tickles her neck. The shadows of dog walkers stretch long into winter. The tide calls. She thinks of those brought by the promise of silver-tipped scales into faithful embrace, the gasp of souls lost in a breaking wave. Pebbles roll with the old bones of a man. Have you ever seen so much sky? Years ago, her mother peered through the hole in the head of a quay in candlelight, the shimmer of fountain mist, to a reflection of longing. She let her eyes adjust to the future, the promise of distant shores, footprints filled with ozone, widening over millennia to swallow the risen sea, crumbling into the infinite. Have you ever seen so much sky? Seagulls drift above the memory of endless summer, with the push-pull of wind and cirrus. Blue waits as it does for the air to clear, for rain to fall and whisper, welcome. She lifts her eyes to the horizon. Have you ever seen so much sky? Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura. That's perfect sentiment to finish your reading off. What are you working on at the moment?
I'm working on a few wee poems, a few, poetry ideas that keep coming up and don't let you go. And beyond that, working on workshops and working with Forth Valley College and my novel. So always keeping busy.
Busy woman. Well, make sure that you pick up a copy of Laura's pamphlet there from Studio Rhubarb Press. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. So our next reader is Babs McGregor. Babs calls herself a Stornowee, so she's a blend of Stornoway and Glasgow. And she describes herself as a worker poet. She's heavily involved with the Woodlands community and Ceollis Crack, which is one of the best loved Gaelic organisations based there in Glasgow, dishing out commissions and putting on amazing events. So please do check out their work. Babs has had poems published in Gedem and in the Edinburgh Review, but she's also very widely anthologized with poems in Three Lag Shore to Shore and Wish I Was Here pocketbooks, to name a couple, as well as Stratacans and EML, which is forthcoming from Francis Bootle Press. You may recognise the editor. Babs is one of 18 contemporary Gaelic poets who came to prominence around the turn of the millennium and who've gone on to success over the first 25 years of the 21st century. And so we're really looking forward to that being released, hopefully in December. Pre-orders open next week. So please welcome Babs McGregor.
Thanks a lot, Moran Tank, Marcus, and so glad to be on this call tonight, and really to meet poets I haven't actually heard from before, so that's amazing. I'm sorry I'm a bit in the gloaming here. It's lighting. I know, it's kind of misty. It's kind of like hanging a current thing anyway. We're in the Feast of All Souls, I think, today, with the veils of both worlds being very thin, and I've been involved in a storytelling session in our Woodlands community here in Glasgow about ghosts and Taishan and things like that. But I've been thinking a lot about, I went to this thing yesterday actually. I mean, it's not very clear here, but it's called Asylum Diaries. It was put on by a PAL Cafe, an organisation that's trying to set up a Palestinian-themed cafe in Glasgow. And it's a kind of deep listening experience, really, of different experiences that asylum seekers have had through spoken word and music. So it was really quite an amazing thing to be part of and attend and feel it. And coming into this call tonight and support Ray, you know, this is very much on our minds, really. I'm involved in the fight, really, to you know, stop the rise of the far right and stuff like that here. So with Halloween and Eichhaunen, I did a wee soundscape project with an artist last year called Susanna Stark, and it was recording phone calls home to my mum. They happen ritually every Sunday night, phone gachi, at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. And since I left home in 1985 from the island of Lewis, where I'm from, every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, I've had this phone call with my mother. Now, sadly, my mother passed away a month ago, which has left a bit of a gap there on a Sunday night, and also obviously in our hearts. But I'd written a suite of poems to accompany the soundscape, and this is one for my mum, Zina, because she's on my mind very much at this thin time of year. And, you know, we are the emissaries, I think, of the unforgotten dead in many ways. Walter Benjamin's kind of angel of history would, I think, conclude and agree with that. So this one is to my mum. It's called Zina Italia. She wasn't a great traveller, but she found, I think, that she could spread her wings in a place that wasn't the island, and she could do things like wear trousers there. She was very devout. Or she could go and explore things like go see a volcano like Vesuvius, things that she wouldn't necessarily deem, you know, kind of godly necessarily in her own way. So this is Zina Italia. Anish stod cawl keine, fallaf gan juklish, matin je sacharne, krochig en niederoch gemui, wane sabod. Dolaichen duloch benus kion, dolce michel an een kjarkel tornes chine, fiach je niet ovian, elasig. Kurkeine, dolaichen sere, gach saurig snetalch, as jeju dogriach geligalie, stu haast favain, haast faskiltje, cirkeljoor, schon brekische hörst, schach noch rotanje gadanochig, agus broken wager, son falafir koerst, aan een volcano, agus var een dure darach ook, aan een doig en duul, een meskne baltjen bikke, zijn prieviges, kaartes, koersnoch, is kokedoch. Rui ada getri ich, keel, idir crosbost agus Capri.
Mhm.
So Zine Natalia, this is a rough translation. Now that you're losing your memory, going to the church on a Saturday morning, hanging out your washing on the Sabbath, your days completely topsy-turvy, going round in a circle that's ever tightening. I'll try and light your desire. Remember your holidays each summer in Italy, when you'd retired and you were still healthy, still open, free enough to put on a pair of trousers because nobody recognised you, and robust shoes to go up for a trip, a walk round the volcano, and where you rediscovered your youth in an unexpected way amongst these small villages and their prioritising of friendship, community, and cooking, an edible currency, a link between Crosspost and Capri. My mother was from Crosspost in North Lochs, so that's the thing there. So that's for Zina. And then just a local one, we've got an exhibition coming up at the Hunterian Gallery here, Hunterian Art Gallery in December, and it's looking at the bell, the fish, the ring and the tree, which are the symbols of Glasgow. And it's like I'm a kind of barspala. I kind of just look at I'm an urban barspala, though. I'm an urban village bard, because I think every little area of Glasgow is a little village in its own way. And I've been involved in the Palestinian cause for many years, and I've visited Palestine twice. And the last time I visited was in 2016. I was on a cycle ride, medical aid for Palestinians, going through the West Bank on a bike. And I found a way of there was a kind of a link. I found an unusual link between my neighbourhood in Glasgow and experiencing that cycle ride. And it was to do with neighbourhood and noisiness. So it's very, very domestic. I really enjoy exploring domesticity, because I think that's where life actually really is, and it happens. And we've heard that a lot from so many of our poets tonight as well. So this one is called, in English it's And the Dogs Are Gods, but in Gaelic, Con Sraat Carnarvon, the Carnarvon street dogs. That's the street I live in. Han bala sioer y godd gon coin, van hoshi COVID. Cwtch hwyd yn y ranoch ag sfemoch i'r cabbage sy'n ish gysio. Ach sata ffwn a chair sraj ffwn smach. Fad blionoch yn ish, dar cymal yn nordu, li clar ame cynjoch. Sli snawsiag big i'r gyrn tras y fading, li tachan, y fys y tolwch drym y glwys. Giroch mar y bafish Heineken, parsid yn fwy gyricsyn nach bwring liawn ele. Y lentyn gydlw le ponio, hapion, a hamair cwngrych, si strien ai beagle na beagles fo sraj beliol, agos mar syniad yrst, y cwmartich, sgwarach ag yn loa, ho erepsoch, nis yn chir nerv, y hyrlw, on the 2016, scarst o crwy mar dwsgych, yn gyrn gwrni von y fosg an yn Bethlehem, gat holwch mar Heineken, lentyn gydlw le capatich yn clwc von ykwish Christel ha mair cwngrych. Sy'n siake, y strien ei y haloch, y gyr, an yn garach gwdd i'r hoddegyn, ys masynydd yrst. Gleurig, mini nerve, yn slieg gyglor. And if I get that wee translation, yes, okay. This city has gone to the dogs since COVID, they say. Everybody lonely, needing a friend. Too many will be overrun. The dogs have had the run of our street for years now, keeping it in order, keeping it in time. Our early morning call is a mini schnauzer with a yelp that pierces the eardrum, the same way Heineken Lager used to reach or refresh parts other beers couldn't. Closely followed by Ponyo, the papillon, who enjoys dialogue, not to be outdone by the baying beagles from Balliol, and so on. Markers of the day and markers of it. As reliable as the Holy Land you visited in 2016, as rude an awakening. A piercing call to prayer from the mosque in Bethlehem, reaching the parts a few other beers couldn't, closely followed by the bells of that Christian church who enjoy dialogue, not to be outdone by the crowing cockerels in the backyard of the hotel you are staying in, and so on, and so on. An unholy racket, a pathway to glory. Morning time, Camilla, thank you, Harston.
Morning time, guts to Babs. We're thinking of you, particularly in this month of November, and thank you for sharing your words and putting it all in that amazing context. Just beautiful. And I'll hopefully be seeing you soon with this anthology. We've got to take it on the road, mate.
Yeah. T-shirt.
It's Jonach. Right, okay. So the final read of the evening's moi, and I'm going to start with translations of 3 of the tercets that Anton read tonight. This is from the edition, the Celtic Languages edition of Depositions, which, as I may have said, you can hear at Celtic Connections in January. Cúnch and Skilshaw, Eden Inion, Rusbach na Hiva Shaw, Tarna nach Kian, Smooge Gu von Valle, it art nan Knoch, a boerig knich gehiriot, Skja Krag Yerakada. I'm going to carry on with some more poems, new poems that I've written. These, hang on, how do I put me on main view? Because Babs is lovely looking, but you want to see me when I'm reading, right? Okie dokie. So I'm just coming to the end of the year following my big 4-0. It was a bit of a crossroads in many ways, health-wise, creatively, professionally. It was not necessarily what I expected, but it's curveballs are interesting, we'll say that. And I never expected to be writing a collection of poems in English, but this is what I've done. In fact, I've just changed the title. Better tell Victoria and Katie, who've seen a few of the drafts. It's now called Wise Heart. Here's hoping. So I'm going to read 3. It's a metamodern reimagining of the story of Hyacinth and Apollo. And this is Larkspur. It's about a photo that I took on my 40th birthday in Douglas, on a Manx beach in Douglas, which kicked the whole thing off. Larkspur. I know which one it was, standing on man's Delian shore on the morning of my 40th. The sea breeze had blown my coronet from my hair, letting it fly, curling around my nose and into a wide-teethed smile. Little did I know it had been the November wind to set you free. Perhaps you interpreted the image as joy, but for the sitter it was a declaration of intent, absconding with my bag of poetry, with history swinging from my shoulder, to gather spikes of larkspur and lavender plucked from the field, to scatter behind me, and so I can't remember who first looked at whom. No matter. Now I'm seen, I'm led by hope, that even when my eyelids close on sleep, you will remain to feel. Because we've all been a little bit frisky, I'll read one of the more frisky ones. This is called Sunray. You burn, sunray, beside me, as the early hours sand your eyelashes and sleep anchors your forearm around the curve of my waist, where the dew of touch meanders the furrow of my spine to pool in the dimples before my tailbone. Beyond the thought lines of your forehead, your hand hangs in the humidity of sanctum, rebuilt for me with your shoulders for its gesso vaults until the moment of spent collapse summoned the rise of your swelter, to escape your paws and meet again, each bead of my own surrendered to the cornice of the ceiling, arcing its alchemical embrace. All that slicked our undraped skin now mists us from above, mingling where male love is made, reborn, rose-flushed, of limbs linked loose across the bed's unmade form. But as the torrent outside breaches the tenement's gutter's brink to hammer smooth the flagstones in syncopated splutters, little wonder then the heavens buckle under the pressure of their load, when at dusk across your threshold I'd borne the same ache slung low in the pit of sacral hollow, thrumming empty now beyond midnight, and these walls, the ether's cloaking Kelvin side, give way, released just as you were to that flow. So I'd better read the one that talks of the big event in that mythology, which is obviously the impact of the discus. And I imagine it as a text message. So here it comes. The discus bearer. I woke that day to hear the wind whistle over the roofs as the leaves shimmered skittish on the trees by the bedroom window, and knew the world had slipped its axis. Turning to unfold you, I found the bed fallow, and in your place your words etched on the golden discus, spinning into impact. And as it struck, my skull sang. When they write of this, they'll record a single blow, but that's a lie. It was no contest until stirred to take my role. I rose, scuffed and grazed to cast my reply, but yours was the first throw. The truth is, my mouth tasting vermilion flow, spilling from the fissure of my lip, split by the fray on each contact. It rose once more, curving through the sky to strike again, until spent it set with the western sun, leaving my flesh bruised lilac. Although my eyes looked back, blackened, bloodshot on you, I didn't plead for volte-face, seeing clearly then that this had all just been a game, and I, a spectacle for your crowd to cheer. And I'll finish with one that I wrote fairly recently after poetry reading in Stirling. Wrote it at the train station, leading back to that idea of middleness with the Isle of Man. This is equidistance. In this city of equidistance between you and me, my mind rescreens a vignette, a footstop on the astral plane. Your face, sapphire glare fixed on mine, rushing at me with your hands clasping the handles of a luggage trolley that carries only emptiness, flushed with anger like the last time, on a station platform I don't recognize. I do not yet read your poems, instead in sterling odes to others, remembering it was these that passed beneath your gaze early in the making. Whilst the vision will fade, they will remain like me, thankful you call into my dreamscape still, and yet arriving to see my carriage leave in the foyer as I write this afresh, the list of destinations tempts an earlier departure that might lead out of this omphalos and almost to your door. But no, I wait on another to railroad me back from whence I came. In my palm, your friendship is the algorithm's suggestion, bound in what was, what might have been. No matter. In the darkness, through silence, unknowing or in pain, within the end state, the pilgrimage is complete. Together in the light I hold, we're already home. It's a knack of air. Hopefully, ending on a bit of homecoming will bring the night to a close. I'd really like to thank all of our readers for being with us tonight. Ray and Yassi, Michelle Hodkin, Katie Campbell, Anton Floyd, Laura Fife, Victoria McKeever, and Spike Munro, and Babs McGregor. Thanks for giving up your time. It's been lovely to have you with us. Just wishing power to all your pens. And who knows, maybe in a month or two, we'll have another of these Poetry Ceilidhs on Zoom. And if you'd be interested in doing that, please do send me a note in the Northwards Now Facebook group. Do remember you can pick up a copy of Northwards Now at outlets across Scotland. Nearest to me is the Scottish Poetry Library. They're free and they showcase the best of writing in Scotland, supporting in particular Highlands and Islands writers. So we'll see you soon. More than thanks on a recorded agus. Aichiva.